Did you ever wish you had someone to tell you the truth about what it takes to run a successful business and live a fulfilling life? Well, my friend, you've come to the right place. So grab your favorite caffeinated jolt or cocktail and your courage and get ready to get to work. I'm Janessa Borges, a therapist, mindset coach for entrepreneurs, and a feisty Latina from Miami. I've been referred to as a trailblazing powerhouse with relentless energy and outside-the-box ideas. And I'm determined to teach you the exact tools you need to stop settling and start kicking some serious derriere. What do you say? Are you in? Then let's get started. Welcome to the Success Mindset for Entrepreneurs podcast. Okay, Jen, so we've talked extensively about websites, hosting, domains thoroughly. We started sprinkling in a little bit of SEO, but I want to dedicate this complete portion to SEO, what it is and how it works. Remember, myself and my listeners and my students are all very basic kinder, with all due respect to everybody listening. This is not our area of expertise, so I need you to break it down super specific and keep it short and chunked. And I have some very specific questions I want to ask to address. So the first thing is search engine optimization, SEO. What is it and how does it work?
Sure. So we hear a lot about SEO and the importance of SEO, and we really hear it actually said, search engine optimization. And what that breaks it down to is, what is your website and how do you optimize it to tell search engines what you are? So let me say that again. SEO is search engine optimization, which means the ability to say clearly to a search engine what you are and give them the availability to crawl around your site and pick up what you are. So when people search on Google business podcasts, you come up because Google already knows that your website is a business podcast website. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we want to make sure, so for the purpose of my students with therapists, the search engine optimization helps people find people looking for therapy with their specialties based on the information they're putting on their site or within the body of their website, correct?
If you are a therapist and you have a private practice website, you want to make sure that it's set up in a way that search engines, and when I say search engines, we all know Google, that's the big one, knows that you are a private practice. And I will take it one step farther, that you are a private practice in a specific location. So I'm saying New York City private practice. Google needs to know that that's what you are, so that people searching in New York City for a private practice, you show up. So that's what I mean by SEO. Search engine optimization means that you show up when the people who are searching for you type in your keywords.
Okay. I'm going to ask you very specific questions. And if you can try just to answer that piece, because I'm going to try to chunk like these questions out. So the first thing is the definition of a creepy crawler is what you and I call them. So I always tell Jen, okay, we're making these edits on my website. Can you please send in the creepy crawlers? Meaning, can you do whatever you have to do so Google goes into my website and they kind of like go in the guts of my website and it can soak in all the changes I've made, so then it can connect, to itself when people are searching. So what is a creepy crawler? What's a Jan creepy crawler?
Sure. Okay. So let's take a step back for a minute. So there's a couple different ways to set up your SEO. You go in, I'm not going to get too much into the technical, but for each web page, you define keywords and key phrases such as New York City private practice. And then you make sure that on your web page, you say plenty of times, New York City private practice. And then you actually have to submit your website in multiple ways to Google and search engines. So for Google, they have their search engine console that you would actually submit a link to your website so that Google knows that you're ready for them to send out their little bots to crawl around. So what I call creepy crawlies is as a term that I use to say that Google now knows that it can send out its little readers, its little bots, its little creepy crawlies to read your website. And because you said New York City private practice so many times in so many different ways, that's how it knows what you are and can start registering you with search results.
Okay. So I know I'm going to regret asking this question, but I'm going to ask you some specific terms. Can you just give me the definition for these specific terms without like branching off? So the first thing is, what is a keyword?
A keyword is what you pick. That's just one or two words. Actually, okay, sorry. You told me not to branch off, but keyword is actually a little dated. Keyword phrase, even keyword question is now more the term because Google actually really likes when somebody types in what is a private practice, they could actually use that as like a full keyword. Okay, so I did branch off there.
I actually just heard that Google Analytics is switching keywords to keyword phrases, I believe.
And what that means is at the bare minimum, how do you describe your business? And I don't want to hear your name, what you do, who you do it to. At the bare minimum, who are you? And you are a private practice for couples. You are a private practice for individual therapy. And so you take that whole phrase and apply it to what you are. So you really got to think about the simplest terms of describing who you are.
And I'm gonna interject here and go back to the module that I go through when we're talking about ICA and niche, because that is what's going to help you in these parts with your content writing, even because depending on who you're helping and what their pain points are and your specialty, those are some of the keyword phrases that you want to use in all this search engine optimization piece. Now I'm going to ask another question I know I'm going to regret because I still don't understand it myself, but what's the difference between a keyword phrase, which you just went over? So we got that. What's a meta title?
Meta titles and meta descriptions. Okay. So meta titles and meta descriptions are on the back end of your website, what you are calling the page, the web page. So we just talked about your keyword phrase, what your website or web page is about. Now, each page can get a meta title. It's like naming your book. You're naming each web page. So your homepage would probably be kind of the name of your practice. Your about page would be about the name of your practice. But then you get into other pages and blog posts that really nail some good SEO. So if you are in private practice for couples therapy, you might have a blog post on, do you need couples therapy as a couple? Do you need couples therapy as a couple? And you can actually name the webpage, do you need couples therapy? And so when somebody actually searches, do I need couples therapy? Something like that could be triggered to bring your blog post up. So when nothing else on your website is coming up, this blog post would come up and boost your SEO. So to recap, because I know that was a lot, meta title is naming each web page. Meta description is describing each web page. Keyword phrase is at the bare minimum picking words that describe that web page and then repeating it over and over and over in your title, in your description, and on the actual content of the web page. You pick a keyword, New York City private practice. So the title of your web page is New York City private practice for couples. And then your description is we are a private practice. We are a New York City private practice for couples who go through all these techniques to help you build communication in your relationship. So you see that each one gets longer and longer, but you're still using the same phrase.
And then I want to point out that just because somebody's creating a website for you doesn't mean that they're setting up your SEO. Those are two separate services. But I also want to explain, and Jen, you can elaborate if I'm saying it incorrectly, but to have a website and not access your keyword phrases, your meta titles, your meta description, to me, that is a loss of possible organic traffic, natural traffic that you could be drawing to your website and business that you're losing by not tapping into what you can tap into on your website, correct?
Well, that's actually a loaded question. So organic, there's different types of traffic that you can get to your website. Jan just said organic traffic. And what that means is people finding you without paying for advertisements and without sending out emails and without pushing people to your website. So when somebody types in couples therapy in New York City, you pop up and they go to your website, and that is organic traffic. Here's the problem with that, especially if you're a new website or you're a website that's never done any SEO work. You have never pushed traffic to your website. You do not have organic traffic. So let me say that in a different way. You will not, no matter how much homework you do on your keyword phrases, your meta titles, your descriptions, no matter how much, if you don't have traffic already going to your website, you will not rank on Google. So it's a catch-22 because if you don't have traffic going to your website, you're not going to rank on Google. And if you can't rank on Google, you cannot build traffic to your website. So what do? You go for paid advertising, Facebook ads, Google ads, and you send people to your website through that way. You send out emails that say, check out my newest blog post, and send people to your website that way. And you post all over social media about your latest lead magnet, 5 things to know when communicating with your partner, download for free. And you're sending people to your website to download that. And eventually, and I cannot stress this enough, if anybody promises you search engine results in less than 3 months, they're lying to you. Without really putting in the work and sending traffic to your website, you will not rank on Google. So step 1, figure out all the creative ways to send people to your website. Be ready for when people start going to your website for Google to be like, oh, something's happening on this website. Here go the creepy crawlies. And then when they see that kind of boost in activity and they look at all your keywords that you have set up, at that point, you will start ranking on Google because you have movement and things that's happening. But I cannot stress enough, you can't just put up a website, not do the work, and expect to get search engine results. You will not. And if anybody tells you that you will, they are trying to take your money.
We talked about, and I know you're transitioning into paid and organic traffic. So again, a slippery slope I'm going to go into here, but I think I'm going to try to define it and jump in if I'm saying it wrong. But a landing page is a page on your website where people land on if you send them to it. So if we create a lead magnet that we talked about doing to create organic traffic or to share, and somebody lands on that page, they're going to opt in. So they're going to say, yes, I'd like that free resource. I'm going to opt in to your email address, to your email list. Then there could be another page that says, thank you for opting into my email list. All of that can help you boost traffic if people are coming to your page and opting in, as well as a blog. So other than paid, Jen, would you say that lead magnets like opt-ins and blogs are most popular for traffic when you're starting off, or what other types of traffic generation? Simple, basic, quiz is more in depth. We're actually starting to work on that ourselves for my website now. I know I find that it's more cumbersome, more detailed, and like more of an advanced task. So if somebody's just starting off, they just have a website, or they have a website, but they're really starting to put attention into it to drive traffic, how does a blog help? Or a lead magnet? Or is there anything else you recommend other than those two things for a starter?
A lot of people, you say this all the time, figure out how you like to talk to people and stick with that. If you're a writer, do a blog. If you're a speaker, do a podcast. If you want to do lives, then do that. But pick your method and then stay consistent on it. So to expand, I recommend blogs on your website, or however you're going to communicate with people, because when you go into social media and join a whole bunch of, let's say, Facebook groups, nobody likes you to sell to them. You can't just go out there and say, here are my services, here are my prices, come to me. People don't do that. People don't know you. They don't care about you. They want to know what's in it for them. But then when you put out a blog post that describes better techniques for communicating with your partner, then people are, that could actually help me. And they will go to your website to read the article. And then it'll register on SEO. You could get into the nitty gritty of actually embedding your services within the blog articles so they see it anyways. Same with a podcast or a lead magnet. If you have a quiz that says 5 questions to ask yourself before starting therapy, people might go, I want to take that quiz. So what you're doing is you are trying to figure out the easiest way to get people to your website. And usually that has to do with figuring out what benefits them. Now, everybody has heard the terminology clickbait, which I personally hate, but clickbait is what it is. It is putting out a link that entices people to click. They can't help it. They want to see what 5 celebrities have gained the most weight in 2021. Like they just can't help it. They got to see it. So when you're thinking about your business and what you can do to benefit and stand apart from the competition, you are trying to think what will get the most clicks to your website. And once you get them there, then you can talk about your services and talk a little bit more about booking calls with you, or however you want to convert them. But again, you're kind of doing it all at once. It's a beautiful thing. Is you're putting your name out there and putting out your freebies on social media. And then when you're sending them to your website, you're getting that boost in SEO. So it's not one or the other. You're doing kind of all these things at once.
So they're supporting one another. Okay.
Right.
I like that explanation.
And blogs are kind of the most classic form of doing that. But, what we're seeing now is a lot more quizzes and a lot more freebie downloads that kind of take the place of doing a full out blog. So just pick what you can be consistent on and share.
And my suggestion for anybody starting off is, I'm a huge believer, and I just did a whole episode on picking what resonates for you most, as something that you can commit to even when you're busy or overwhelmed. But I don't want you guys to miss out on something which seems so basic, but I like to say it because sometimes if people don't say it out loud and break it down, you don't take it to the next step. Is if you create a blog, you want to make sure that somewhere on your website or in that blog article, you're also offering a gift, a freebie, a resource, a lead magnet. Because that way, no matter where people are going on your website, the lead magnet will pop up. It's called a pop-up, or an exit, which means when they're exiting your site or that page, it'll pop up. And then what you want there is you want them to eventually say, yes, I want to hear more. I want to see what you have to offer. I want that free resource. So they give you the email address because, like Jen said, people don't want you going into other Facebook groups, or people don't want you just to sell. And you want to really build that know, like, and trust factor. So by adding them to your email list, if they want to do so authentically, whether it's weekly, every other week, monthly, quarterly, whatever, I want you guys to start with whatever you can commit with and commit to that and be consistent. You want that because then you can start sharing information. Hey, I have a new article. Hey, there's this new blog post. Once you have them on there and you're growing that email list, that's where a lot of this happens. So I know Jen and I have given you a lot to digest. We'll probably do an extra bonus in the future on advanced strategies. Maybe we'll touch on some social media in the future, but because you're starting off, I really want you to focus on website, getting one up and running by somebody that you know, like, and trust, and then having your SEO also tapped into eventually, sooner than later, whether it's through a lead magnet or whether it's through a blog. You want to take advantage of everything your website has to offer you without needing to use paid ads, although that is another strategy. But again, I know you're just starting off and you might be tight on finances. So I want you to be able to use what you can use to the best of your ability. And again, make sure to go to Jen's website. I'll make sure to put it underneath the video, but or the audio. It's jenniferwaldsmith.com for your website and setting that up. And again, she's created 2 incredible packages for our students. One is a basic starter and one is a little bit more in depth that also has you hosting, whether it's a lead magnet or a blog, I believe. And that may be changing in the future whenever you hear this. So make sure to go to the website for that information. And then if you do feel like you want some social media or to set up your email list or email and start converting these people, meaning you're turning them and converting them into people that are interested in learning about you, to people that are actually your paying customers, and you want to set up that email, Jen's team at themomempire.com can also help you with that. So Jen, thank you so much for all this information. I know this is just like the edge of everything we can talk about, but I wanted to be able to provide my students the basics of what they need to do this the right way the first time without risking any loss. So thank you so very much. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited you tuned in. The best way to find out the second a new episode is released and receive all the valuable tools and actionable steps I share is to subscribe to the podcast. So make sure you do that. If there are any topics you'd like addressed, or if you have any burning questions you want answered, visit janmarietlc.com/podcast. And make sure to share this with any other entrepreneur friends that you know can benefit from learning the mindset it takes to create a business and life they truly love. And last but definitely not least, I would love your feedback. So leave a review and I'll make sure to share that love on a future podcast episode. Sending you so much love. Until next time.